Okay, so for Minitab, I went ahead and typed in the information already. I made a column that represents the categorical variable of response, and although I didn't actually need to include that, I just thought it looked a little bit nicer. And then a column of the observed values from the frequency table, and then I put in the expected proportions from the pie chart. Again, the shortcut that you saw in StatCrunch is the same shortcut here in Minitab. I don't actually have to calculate those expected frequencies by multiplying the proportion by the sample size. I can just put in the percentages in decimal form in the third column. So I'm going to click on Stat and then scroll down to Tables and then scroll down to chi-square goodness of fit test for one categorical variable. Okay, so I need to select the column that I've stored the observed values, and I've got an option here to either test equal proportions. That would be if the expected distribution was uniform. This is not the case for this problem, so I'm going to click on specific proportions, and I'm going to tell it what column the expected proportions are in. And I'm going to click on this graphs option just real quick, and it defaults to show both of these, a bar chart of the observed and expected values and a bar chart of each category's contribution to the chi-square. I've unclicked that one because I don't really need to take a look at that one, but this first one is a little bit interesting. Okay, so I'm going to click out of there and click on OK, and it's going to give me a side-by-side bar chart of the expected frequencies versus the observed. Visually, this is telling me that they're somewhat close together, but until I take a look at the standardized test statistic and the p-value, I can't absolutely decide to fail to reject the null in this case. Okay, so I'm going to click that closed, and I do not want to save it. Okay, so it's going to give us a bunch of information that we don't need for this particular test or this particular problem. What I'm interested in is the degrees of freedom, the chi-square test statistic, which is the same one that I obtained from doing this by hand, and then the corresponding p-value, which is really nice because that is a little bit tricky to get from the table, and you only get a range of values for the p-value if you choose to use the table. Okay, so again, we are going to reject the null hypothesis, and we're going to state that the distribution is not as expected from the pie chart.